Hey, mamas, welcome back to another episode. I am thrilled to have our guest today who is going to be a little disruptive to the normal conversation. And I can't wait for this one. I'm betting that when you read the title, you were like, yes, I need to know more about this. So, Leslie, I'm so excited for you to be here. And I'm going to let you introduce yourself. Tell us what you do, how many kids you got, where you're from, a little bit of all the things.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. First of all, I am so excited to be here. I'm Leslie Stevens. I'm a branding and marketing strategist, and I specialize in supporting service based business owners to get more clients without having to post on social media. So it's one of my absolute favorite things to do is really come in here in the world where we feel like we are pressured to put everything online and be posting all the time to show people that there's another way because social media marketing is a fantastic tool, but it's just that it's only one of so many tools. So it's my mission to bring back the human elements of connection and collaboration. And I have the honor of building this business as I raise a little one who's only 1.5 right now. And we are in Oklahoma, kind of in the middle of nowhere, Oklahoma, but I couldn't be happier. So, yep, that's a little bit about me, what I do.
Wow, I'm so excited you're here. And 1.5 is such a fun age. It's like one of my favorite ages, by the way. It's yeah. My sister, has a little girl and a niece, and I'm just like, I want to be back in that stage, but I also don't want to be back in diapers. So no more
You can
babies.
appreciate it in the moment and then
Yes.
also acknowledge that was great times. I'm
It
happy
was
I'm
good times, but also yeah, we're moved on. But I'm excited to have you with this conversation of like, there's another way than just in the rat race of social media. Because I know social media is one of the most frustrating things for entrepreneurs because it's constantly changing. There's algorithms, there's how much you have to show up, you have to be consistent, you have to be present, you have to do this. There's so many shoulds around social media, and that causes a
Mhm.
lot of frustration and pressure. And then the randomness of going viral or your audience even seeing what you post can be like one of those things that really derails us and makes it frustrating. So I want to jump in and hear about the ways you don't use social media. So someone who clicked this episode who's like, yes, please tell me more how I don't have to use social media to get clients and make sales. What are the ways that we can talk to us about these other concepts and tools?
Oh my gosh, there are so many opportunities, and I'll tell you, I learned this the hard way. So I
Okay.
learned this from going from a place from trying to make social media work for me for years, trying to invest so much time, energy, and effort to stay consistent with it, make sure I was making the right posts at the right time, have the right launch strategy that went along with
Hmm.
social media, all of those things. And the way that I ended up here teaching this is out of the fact that I wanted to start a family, and I
Okay.
knew that I wouldn't be able to keep up with all of the social media content because I was spending hours on it every day, and I was like, "I'm a pretty private person. I didn't know how my pregnancy was gonna go. It was very difficult for me, and I'm glad that I made this decision before I even got pregnant." But I had this moment where I started an entirely new business because I stepped out of health coaching because
Okay.
I wanted to go into branding, and it was just like a natural evolvement for me. And I had no online presence at all, and I had 10 times my income from my health coaching business from the very first month I started this branding business. And
That's
I was like,
insane.
and then I had this moment 3 months down the line, and I was like, "There's no way I would be able to keep up this momentum if I don't get on social media, if I don't start posting." It's kind of like that nagging feeling in the back of your head, like, everybody has told me to get clients, I need to be posting on social media. And it was in that moment where I was like, "Hold up, Leslie. What have you been doing that has been getting you fully booked for months on end, like you never were in your first business?"
Mhm.
And it came down to the relationships that I had built and the
Yes.
conversations that I was having. And I was going directly to my ideal client instead of posting and hoping the right person was gonna see it, or posting and hoping they were gonna see it enough times where they would know, like, and trust me. So
Mhm.
what I was doing was I wasn't waiting around anymore. I was being very purposeful with the actions I was taking because I wanted the time I was spending on my marketing to know that I was getting a return on it and not have it be up to an algorithm or going
Mhm.
viral or all of those things that aren't within our control. So I started by just reaching out and having conversations. I started with people I knew. I asked for referrals based off of those people, like, "Hey, do you know anybody who is working on a project that they need a brand for?" And it became very word of mouth. And then as it grew, I became a little bit more strategic and I found ways that I could borrow other people's audiences. Because
Ooh.
what I never thought about was the fact that my ideal client is already hanging out somewhere where I could then come in and show them I can be of value instead of waiting for me to hopefully build an audience on Instagram by posting at the right time that I Googled somewhere and it was like, "You should post exactly at 10 AM
Yeah.
Eastern time to get these people," and those things, like, most of them aren't true, first of all, but, like, second of all, doing more of the things that aren't working isn't going to bring you better results, and when I started actually looking at what was working for me, I realized in my health coaching business, that's the same way I had gotten clients there, and if I
Mhm.
would have just looked at what I was doing and doubled down on the things that were already working for me, I would have gotten so much more momentum so much more quickly, and it's all
Yes.
based off of having simple conversations.
Yes. You and I are so aligned with this, like, I just can't even I'm like, "Yes, yeah, yes, yes," I'm like, like, totally interrupt you the whole time. I really just hopping on this horse. I don't I think we are so quick to fall to the pressure of shoulds and have tos and doing things that we're like, "Well, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just gonna do it because I have to." And even if you know you're doing something that works, we stop doing it or we lose momentum on it because we go to the pressure of we have to be here. We have to do it this way because it worked for this person. I
Mhm,
think one of the things I'm pulling out from that what you just shared is that you actually took the time to pause to say, what is actually bringing me these booked out moments, these clients? And then how can I strategically scale that without going to that unaligned thing that I know is not really working for me? Because you could have
mhm.
just said, oh, to scale this, I now have to go make the audience. And you said you were tempted to do that and got off rails for a little bit. But really, by taking that pause to say what's working and how can I do more of what's working is game changer.
Mhm. And
So game
sometimes
changer.
it's really hard to step back and not kind of get into the rat race of everything because we're exposed to it all the time. And
Hmm.
like you're like, "Oh, well, it worked for them and everybody's telling me that's the way this works." But
Right.
listening to yourself and trusting your gut is really how you're going to get so much further, so much faster.
Yes. Yes, it really is. And also just being okay with me doing things different than maybe someone I really admire or someone who's in my same industry. I can look different than them and
Mhm.
do a different journey to success. And it doesn't mean that she's better than me because she went viral on social media or I didn't. Like there's no competition here. It's just leaning into our personalities and how we like to show up and what feels good to us and what is actually working. Like that permission is beautiful. It really is.
Yeah, and I will be completely honest, it took me time to be able to trust
Mhm.
myself like that, but especially once I had Liam and I was in the space where I was like, "I need to make the most out of my time." I had realized I was measuring my success on how busy I was in my first business because I was busy all the time. If I wasn't working with clients, I was creating content. Made me feel like I was doing all of the things, like, there's like, I wasn't doing anything wrong because I just kept going.
Hmm.
And then I knew when I stepped into motherhood, I have another role to play. I
Yeah.
have a certain amount of time that I want to spend with my son and not on my business. And that was my personal preference. And I was like, I've got to figure out a way to make the most out of my time and not
Yes.
just be busy all the time. And it took a lot to shift that because when I wasn't busy all the time and I was getting better results, I was like, I'm not doing enough. And I was like, "No, Leslie, like, you have to step back. What you're doing is working. Look
Yes.
at the numbers, look at the facts. Stop trying to just do more and allow yourself for it to be easy."
I love that. That's one of my favorite words in business strategy. Is like, what could make this easy and fun? Doesn't mean it's
Mm,
not work. Like what you were doing was work. It just because it felt easy and it was not like pushing a boulder up a hill, you questioned whether it was okay that it felt this way. And so I love that you brought up and were honest that it did take time. And maybe somebody listening, just needs to take that time to say, am I making this more complicated and more hard and difficult than it needs to be? And it's okay if I give myself permission to embrace the easy. And
mhm.
truly, that's a gift you can give yourself for not just your pressure and mob guilt, but also your success. Like, truly. So I want to know a couple things because I know my audience, they're going to ask these questions. All right. So
I love it.
you said you had some conversations with the people around you. So that was first step number one, how you sold out your offer.
Mhm.
What, how do you have those conversations? Literally, someone just asked me this this morning. How do you get to the conversation to talk about your offer?
So, if I already know them, it's
Hmm.
typically just talking about what I do. So, just telling them a little bit about what I do, being very clear and being like, if you know anyone who is of need of the problem that I can solve, or if you need that, please let me know. And it can be something as simple as easy as that, even with strangers. If I am to reach out to somebody that I've never even connected with before, but I see something in them, maybe I saw them on a podcast, or
Hmm.
maybe I saw them on social media and there's something they have a point of view that I agree with. I'll always try and find like a point of agreement or something I can genuinely compliment them on, where it's
Hmm.
starting a real conversation. But I always like to be straightforward and I don't like starting like icky conversations that don't show your true intentions.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I'll reach out and I'll say, like, I really appreciate what you're doing. You're doing a great job and I love your message. I'm Leslie and I'm a branding and marketing strategist and I help people book more clients without having to use social media. Is that something that you feel like would amplify your business right now, or do you know anybody who that could help? And that is the way to I start conversations. The people who are interested will then come back and be like, "Ooh, that's interesting. I would love to hear more." And the people who aren't very interested, sometimes they'll say, "Oh, not right now," or sometimes they won't respond. And that's
Hmm.
okay. But it's
Yep.
all about putting yourself in that position to be in front of more people. And
Exactly.
the way I go about it is very strategically. I'm not just trying to pick people out of a crowd or run up to everybody in the coffee shop. I'm looking at the people who I could really help because I know who gets the best results from my program. So I can go out there and I can find those people and I can start conversations directly with them or the people that they're already working with. So I just talk about what I do. And
I love it.
sometimes a lot of people hold themselves back from even talking about what they do because
They
it's
do.
that fear of judgment, it's that fear of rejection, all of those things, but the more you do it, the easier it gets, and when you know, hearing no is actually a good thing because you wanna know who doesn't wanna work with you just as much as you
Yep.
wanna know who does wanna work with you. So, to figure out who does wanna work with you gotta get through those no's, and no is okay to hear.
I love that. That's really, really powerful. Knowing, like hearing and listening and getting the no's is actually a gift to you for growth. And
Mhm,
not often are we okay with accepting it that way. We look at it as a rejection of ourselves personally, especially as women entrepreneurs. I feel like we're very emotionally attached to the results of our business and we make it mean something about us. So letting the no's mean that's not my person. And I'm so excited now I get to know more about the person who does want me is such a good shift in your energy and your outlook. It's really, really good. And we need to be bold enough to say, like, this is what I do. Do you need it or do you know of anybody who needs it?
And the
Because it's
best
so
way I
simple.
like to yeah, the best way I like to go about any conversation is how would you wanna be approached if you were on the other
Mm,
side? Whether it's somebody who's your best friend or a complete stranger, how would you go about that conversation? And that's gonna make it so much easier for you to be like, "I'm gonna go start a conversation today about what I do."
yes, exactly. And I love conversations too. I've learned personally from my business how I like to talk to people is I try to focus on what are their needs? What do they want? And then let them tell me because 90% of the time I can weave in the service that I offer and the things that I do into, oh, that's what I do. Or I help a client like that. Or I had a client who felt that same way or was frustrated by that too. It's easy to weave it in because I made it about them instead of asking them like, "Oh, do you wanna hear what I" like, telling them immediately what I do and shoving it down their face, like
Mhm.
like, "Here's what I do, you wanna hire me?" Like,
Yeah, "This
nobody
is
likes
my
those
service.
DMs.
This is what we
Nobody
do."
likes those DMs, right? So, by taking that and making it about, "Hey, this is what I do. Do you know anybody who needs this? Are you in the space?" That feels so much more approachable and engaging and non-spammy, you
Yeah, and
know?
they're gonna tell you all all of the things that they really genuinely desire. When you're
Mhm.
listening, when you show people that you're listening to them, they want to talk to you. Like,
Yep.
people want to tell you about themselves. So
Yes, they
coming
do.
from a place of curiosity is going to get you so far when it comes to sales, whatever industry you're in. Just being
Exactly.
there to actively listen to what they're talking about. And again, coming in from a place of genuine service, being like, "How can I help this person? And if I can't help this person, do I know somebody else who can help them?" Because that
Exactly.
takes the pressure off of you. So if it's a no for what you do right now, it's not about you because you're of service. It's about them. It's what you can provide for them. So I love that you mentioned that.
It's so powerful. It is such a great perspective when you approach those conversations. And it gives us a little more boldness and comfortableness because I know it can be intimidating to start those conversations when you're not used to it. But like you said, the more you do it, the easier it gets.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so I want to pivot to ask the question that I know is coming next. How do you borrow somebody else's audience? Because that sounds lovely and nice. How do I get people to let me use their audience? That's the next question that's going to come up.
Okay. Always come from a place of providing them with value in a win-win situation for you and the person that you're collaborating with. So when you borrow other people's audiences, again, there are so many different opportunities and ways that you can do this. It's like
Can you give
content
me
collaboration.
okay, yeah, I was just gonna ask for a list of a bunch of them, so give us
Yeah,
a
so
bunch.
you can do like workshops, free trainings, interviews, Q&As. You can do like guesting for part of their course. You can provide a mini course, go into their membership. It depends on, I mean, you can even do newsletter features, all of these different types of things. Look for the people who you can complement what they're already doing.
So
So
good.
not somebody who's in direct competition with you, but somebody who has a service where you can come in and be like, "Hey, I see that you do this. You do a great job at this. I think I could come in and help you amplify the results that your clients are already getting." So a good example I like to use is somebody who does course creation.
Okay.
So if you go in and you borrow if you are a copywriter and you go to somebody who does teaches people how to create courses, you can say, "Hey, I would love to collaborate with you. I love your perspective and approach on how you teach people how to create courses. I would love to come in and talk to them about their copywriting on their sales page so that they can make the sales and get results from the amazing courses that you are helping them put together." So it's coming from that perspective of they win because it's helping their students amplify their results. And it's also helping you come in because you can be of service to their clients. Because when they get to the point where they're selling that course, they're probably going to need a web page, and
Yep.
copywriting can help that. So it's being smart about who you're partnering with and the way that you're borrowing their audiences. And you can do this. I break it down into like different levels of how you can do
Okay.
this, working with their inner audience and then their broader audience and kind of the time it takes to convert them into paying clients. But when you're working with the people who have already bought in to that other person, that immediately increases your credibility and your authority because they already trust that other person. So if they know that person has brought you in and they trust you enough to provide value to them,
Yes.
they're going to look to you and be like, "Oh, she could really help me." And you're building a relationship with them if you do something that's a little bit longer form and you're able to have
Hmm.
a conversation with them. Again, conversation comes in many forms, but it's a great way to build relationships with people. So even a short, like 30, 45-minute training, you're in a small group of people, you listen to what their real struggles are and you speak directly to those, you're going to have a pretty high conversion rate rather than just posting something and hoping that's going to find those people maybe someday, some way. Because you've
Exactly.
gone directly to them. Yeah.
It's so powerful. And I think that's really a great way to put perspective on when you go to make the ask. Really, I love that you said who complements your business? Who can be like either the step right before they need to work with you? So your
Mhm.
example of like, hey, you're making a course, now you're gonna need a sales page. That's where my expertise is. And it doesn't take away from what they're doing. It actually teams up with them. I love that. It's it also like will ease the feeling of competition that the
Yeah.
person you're asking from. Not everybody has great feelings around, well, you're a coach and I'm a coach and you can't be in my business because then you're going to steal all my people. If we have some scarcity mentality, it's going to rear its head right there.
Mhm.
But if you're able to come in and say, hey, we could team up together and make this so it gives more value and you're not asking for anything other than to have the opportunity to add value, I think that's a really amazing way to approach the conversation. And again, like you said, conversations weave in everywhere. It's so, so powerful to just get into that space and say, how could I support your audience? And I think that's a question that I've definitely used this before on my own when I've asked to like wanted to borrow someone else's audience. It's like, what do your people need right now?
Mhm.
And like let them tell you and say, I could totally teach a class on that. Would that
Mhm.
be a help to you? And I'm working on it for myself. So there's not like I totally do it for free. I totally do it without being paid. That makes it so it's exciting for them and it feels very like, oh, well, you would do that? That's amazing.
Mhm. Yeah,
And it
always
just leads to that
coming from that.
opportunity.
Yeah, always coming from that place of asking them.
Hmm.
Like, so often in business, we come from this place of, "Okay, what do I want out of this? Oh, I
Hmm.
need a client. I need to make this work. I need this." And when you go into any conversation with a potential client or a potential collaborator, asking them what they need is the most powerful way to figure out how you can help them. And being open, you can always come in with something in mind when you're in a collaboration because if you are asking to borrow somebody's audiences, I would say come in with an idea or two, but
Yeah.
also with that open mind of, okay, what do they need? And what form is this going to be the most powerful for them? Is it going to be a workshop? Is it going to be an interview? Is it going to be having maybe one on one mini sessions with them? Like, what does that person who you can collaborate because they have worked so hard
Hmm.
to build their audience, to get those people in front of them. So, what is going to make them be like, "Yes, I want Lonnie to come in and help me take this to the next level," or, "Yes, I
Yes.
want Leslie to talk about this different perspective to show them that there's another way," because that's not what I teach. But it is our job to show them that we can be of value and that everyone in the situation can win.
Yes. And if I know that the the norm, or not the norm, but the things that stand out to us a lot when it comes to this type of approach is the spammy feeling
Mm.
and the aggressive or the all about me. And we've all experienced that, whether you got somebody popping into your DMs, like, hey girl, I see you trying to make a 10K a month. Can I help you get there? And you're like, you don't know me or my business or where I'm
Yeah.
at. Right? I love it when somebody tagged me in something or commented on a post I made in another Facebook group. And like, oh, I would love to help you start and grow a Facebook group and grow it to 3,000 in 3 months. And I'm like, yeah, you obviously did not do your research about me. So,
There are a
uh,
lot of those messages.
yeah, so we're not like, just because other people are not doing it in a way that is uh great to feel, let's just put it that way.
Mhm.
Just because they're not doing it that way doesn't mean that we can't do it in a way that does make conversations open and amazing and collaborations like super powerful and effective. Don't let that experience derail you. It's the same thing with social media. Sometimes our experience with social media makes us feel like a little bit, you know, jaded towards it. And that can be something that causes us to not then use it. But we with whatever strategy you're using, if you can come at it and say, like, I'm going to own this for myself in a way that feels good and aligned and show up with the intention. And I love how you said, like, the intention of what do they need and how can I make that work? It always comes to something beautiful
Mhm. And it makes
over
it
and
so
over.
much easier on you.
It does. It really does. It does. And it doesn't feel gross.
Yes.
Okay, so I would love to share with our audience where they could find more about more sales without social media. And I know you have a free training. So tell us about the free training and how they can get more details on all this conversation that we've been having.
Yeah, absolutely. So that free training is at clientconnectionmethod.com, and I take you through my simple 3-step strategy. It's called the client connection method. I'll take you through how to make connections, how to have the conversations that convert, and how to get those paying clients and make sales simple and easy for you. So you can find that on my website, and you can listen to a lot more of how to make sales without social media on my podcast. It's called Not an Influencer, an Impact Maker, and Lonnie's episode will actually be out by the time this one
Yeah.
publishes. So go over there, check it out because she provides so much value on that podcast as well.
Thank you so much. And I was just going to tell them to go listen to your podcast. We'll have all of this linked in the show notes. So go get her free training and dive into it and ask yourself the question, like, what if I took this and I started conversations? And I love doing a little bit of a challenge at the end of my podcast. That's a new thing I'm trying to include. So if you're listening, Leslie, what would you tell them to like challenge them? Go after they take the client connection method, the free sales training, the free training that you have. What would you challenge them to do from that point?
I
Because
would
I want them to
challenge
take
them,
action.
yeah, have 2 conversations every day with
Okay.
talking about what you do.
Okay.
So it doesn't have to be with anybody in particular, but it will help you form your message and it will help you get more comfortable talking about what you're talking about and it might land you some more clients. It's all just getting into the habit of taking those tiny actions because sometimes those things that seem so simple, like reaching out to 2 people, that's so easy to do, but that also makes it so easy not to do. Like,
Hmm.
"Oh, I'll just add it tomorrow, and then I'll talk to 4 people, and then by the end of the week, it gets added up and like, "Oh my gosh, I gotta reach out to 10." Just do 2 a day. Start
Yeah.
taking that action, building that momentum, and it will start evolving in a way that might be very surprising for you.
I know it will be. And I am a huge, like anyone who has ever worked with me, I am huge when it comes to the smallest actions are actually the biggest impact in our business because we do them. It's when
Mhm.
we sit there, the big action, the complicated things that we make it in our head and we delay, we delay, we delay, we delay, we delay, then we never really do them, or they become this huge, impossible, surmountable thing. It's the tiny, small actions that really create momentum in our business. So this is so doable. So our challenge to you is to go start 2 conversations. 2
Yeah.
conversations. That's totally doable. You can do that in 10 minutes.
And you
10
can start
minutes.
a conversation with me if you need the practice. Reach out.
Oh, yes. Yes. Where, what's your social media handle so we can hear that one?
On Instagram, I'm at I am Leslie Stevens.
Okay. And I know you're not all social media, but you are present there.
Yes,
So,
I am present there so that I can be open to having conversations. So I always practice what I preach. I don't post all the time. I'll post every once in a while when I feel like it, but I always position myself to be open to making conversations simple and easy. So
yes.
wherever you want to talk to me, I'm probably there.
Yeah. So go email her, go to Instagram and DM her, find out how you like practice. You can practice with me. You know, I love being in the DM. If you haven't had a DM conversation with me yet and you're a listener, it's shame on you because I invite you all the time to come chat with me in the DMs. So this is the opportunity. You have two people right here you can connect with and practice
Mhm.
instantly. So that's here. Day one is done. We
That's
just
how we
solved your
got into
life.
this conversation
Yeah,
today.
God, this sure is. I think you reached out to me. What was it through a DM? Like you have to remind me,
Yeah,
walk me
I
through.
think
Yeah,
I sent
DM.
you a message on Facebook.
Mhm. Yep, it's as simple as that. And look at what happened. Were on each other's podcasts. Now I get to know you. Now I can refer people to you. You can refer people to me. We understand each other's businesses. We can ask those questions. And it
Mhm.
starts just with this opportunity of like, hey, excuse me, I'd like to get to
And
know
we
you.
get to have a great time doing it.
Yeah,
So the
exactly.
opportunities are endless.
It's endless, endless. So I hope this is an encouraging episode to you and challenging to you as a listener to say, I can do something different. And if social media is being a pain in my butt and I'm frustrated by it, the algorithms aren't working for me and my audience just isn't growing, or maybe I don't have an audience now. There are other ways, and it starts with just two conversations. So go and do it and go follow up with Leslie and get the support that she's offering. Reach out to me. You know, I love conversations. Let's continue this and we'll see you next week on another episode. Thank you, Leslie, for coming and sharing your wisdom with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. We'll see you ladies next week. Talk to you soon.